The winter afternoon cast long shadows across the polished marble floor of Grandview Shopping Center, where Marcus Webb sat with his daughter Lily on a bench near the fountain, their weekly ritual of window shopping and ice cream nearly complete. Marcus, a carpenter in his late 30s with calloused hands and a warm smile, watched his 8-year-old daughter's eyes light up at the holiday decorations, her small hand wrapped around a half-melted cone, completely unaware that their ordinary Saturday was about to change everything. Across the corridor, Victoria Sterling, the 42-year-old CEO of Sterling Pharmaceuticals, moved briskly in her cream-colored suit, her daughter Emma walking beside her, trying to match her mother's purposeful stride, the weight of expectations visible even in the child's careful posture. Marcus had noticed them before in passing, the woman who always seemed to be rushing somewhere important, her daughter always a step behind, and he'd felt a quiet sadness at the distance he sensed between them. Lily tugged his sleeve, pointing at the toy store display, her voice full of wonder as she described the dollhouse she'd been dreaming about since October, and Marcus smiled, making mental calculations about overtime hours and Christmas budgets, the mathematics of single fatherhood. The first sign of trouble was subtle, a shift in the crowd's energy, people moving faster, voices rising slightly, and Marcus's instincts, honed by years of protecting his daughter alone, immediately sharpened. Then he saw him, a young man moving with terrible purpose through the crowd, his hand inside his jacket, his eyes fixed on Victoria Sterling with an intensity that made Marcus's blood run cold. Time seemed to fragment as Marcus processed what was happening, the man pulling out a gun, Victoria freezing mid-step, her face registering shock, Emma clutching her mother's hand, confusion and fear dawning in her young eyes. Marcus didn't think, his body moved on pure instinct, years of being Lily's sole protector overriding any concern for his own safety, and he was running before his mind could catch up. Lily's voice called after him, confused and frightened, but he was already crossing the space between them, his work boots finding purchase on the slick floor. Victoria saw him coming, a stranger rushing toward her, and for a split second their eyes met, and he saw her fear transform into comprehension as he reached Emma, pulling the girl away from her mother just as the gunshot cracked through the air. The bullet hit Marcus in the shoulder, spinning him around, and he fell hard, Emma wrapped in his arms, his body cushioning her fall, protecting her even as pain exploded through his chest. The shopping center erupted into chaos, people screaming and running, but Marcus's focus narrowed to the small girl in his arms, checking her for injuries, his voice calm despite the burning in his shoulder, whispering words his own daughter needed to hear. "You're safe, kid. I've got you. Everything's going to be okay." Security tackled the gunman, police sirens already wailing in the distance, and Victoria dropped to her knees beside Marcus, her professional composure shattered, her hands shaking as she tried to apply pressure to his wound. Emma was crying, clutching at Marcus, and he kept his arms around her, even as darkness edged his vision, his carpenter's hands, so used to building and fixing things, now cradling someone else's daughter with the same fierce protectiveness he showed his own. Then Lily was there, having followed her father, tears streaming down her face, and Victoria pulled her close too, holding both children while Marcus fought to stay conscious, the pain less important than making sure all the kids were safe. The ambulance arrived quickly, paramedics working efficiently, and as they loaded Marcus onto the stretcher, Victoria gripped his hand, her voice breaking as she thanked him, but he just smiled weakly, telling her he was a father, he understood, he would do it again. The hospital became a waiting room of transformation, where Victoria sat with Lily, learning about a life completely different from her own, hearing about weekend pancakes and bedtime stories, about a father who showed love through presence rather than presence. Emma, traumatized but physically unharmed, wouldn't leave Lily's side, the two girls bonding over shared fear and their father's bravery, creating a connection that would outlast the crisis. Marcus's surgery went well, the bullet removed, damage minimal, and when he woke, Victoria was there with both girls, her eyes red from crying, her corporate armor completely stripped away. She told him about her husband, lost to cancer 3 years ago, about throwing herself into work to avoid the grief, about the distance that had grown between her and Emma, the daughter she loved but didn't know how to reach anymore. Marcus listened, his own losses reflected in her story, Lily's mother who'd left when their daughter was 2, unable to handle the demands of motherhood, leaving him to figure out parenting alone. They talked through the night, two single parents from different worlds, finding unexpected common ground in their shared struggles, their fears, their fierce love for their children. Victoria confessed she'd forgotten how to just be present, how every moment with Emma felt like a performance evaluation, when what her daughter needed was simply her mother, imperfect and available. Marcus, through his pain medication haze, shared his own doubts, wondering if he was enough, if his daughter needed more than he could provide, his carpenter's wages stretched thin by the dreams he wanted to give her. The days that followed brought an unlikely friendship, Victoria visiting daily, bringing Emma to play with Lily, the two men and women finding comfort in each other's company, building something neither had expected to find. Victoria learned to slow down, watching how Marcus treasured small moments with Lily, how he listened completely when she spoke, how he made even mundane activities feel special through his full attention. She started leaving work earlier, having dinner with Emma, asking about her day and really listening, rediscovering the daughter she'd been too busy to see. Emma bloomed under her mother's renewed attention, the careful distance between them softening into genuine warmth, the little girl finally getting the mother she'd been missing. Marcus, recovering slowly, found himself opening up in ways he hadn't since becoming a single parent, Victoria's intelligence and warmth drawing out parts of himself he'd packed away, and Lily noticed, her father smiling more, laughing easier. The media attention was intense but brief, the story of a carpenter saving a CEO's daughter capturing headlines, but Marcus refused interviews, uncomfortable with the hero label, insisting he'd only done what any parent would do. Victoria used her influence to shield him from the publicity, and when Marcus returned to work, he found his medical bills mysteriously paid, though Victoria denied any involvement with a smile that suggested otherwise. Months passed, and the friendship deepened, weekend barbecues at Marcus's modest home, where Victoria learned to relax, the girls inseparable, planning futures that included each other. Marcus taught Emma woodworking, patient with her mistakes, celebrating her successes, giving her the steady presence she'd been craving, while Victoria helped Lily with school projects, bringing resources Marcus couldn't afford but making sure Lily knew her worth wasn't tied to material things. One evening, as they watched their daughters play in Marcus's backyard, Victoria took his hand, and the gesture was simple but profound, a crossing of the distance between their different worlds. They talked about the shooting rarely now, but its impact was permanent, two families forever changed, brought together by violence but choosing to build something beautiful from that trauma. Marcus realized that taking that bullet hadn't just saved Emma's life, it had saved them all in different ways, breaking through Victoria's isolation, showing Emma her mother's capacity for vulnerability, teaching Lily about courage, reminding himself that protection sometimes means letting others in. The carpenter and the CEO, the daughters who became sisters, a family assembled from broken pieces, not despite their wounds but because of them, each scar a reminder that love is worth the risk. Marcus's shoulder ached sometimes, especially in cold weather, but when he felt it, he thought about the moment his life changed, the split-second decision that brought them all together, and he knew he'd make the same choice every time. Because in the end, being a parent means protecting the children in front of you, whether they're yours by blood or by circumstance, and sometimes the family you need finds you in the most unexpected ways. Two households became one extended family, different but united, proving that the bonds we choose can be as strong as the ones we're born into, that heroism isn't about grand gestures but about showing up, being present, and choosing love over fear, again and again, in all the small moments that build a life.